Felicia Rancilio, Associated Press. Hi.
Hi.
Thank you so much for taking the time.
Thank you.
One thing that fascinated me when I was watching the first 2 episodes last
Okay.
week, was how we see you preparing and going through all these things to become vocal ready for these performances. And maybe it's what's revealed in the last 2 episodes, or just from reading. Then you went out and performed, and there was some criticism. That must have been frustrating.
Heartbreaking, because I had done everything that I could. So almost like shadow boxing or fighting an invisible enemy. I didn't know what it was, and I had done everything I could think of holistically, and I pride myself on being a vocalist, not a stylist. You know, I've been fortunate enough to have sung with Pavarotti. You know, I know how to do it. So as I knew it wasn't going well, and I thought if I just get myself back into touring shape and I go out there, maybe I'll pull the muscles back into what they need to be. It still wasn't working. It was after that 15 shows when the frustration became realization that I finally went back to the doctor that I had started to see, and he says, now we can talk about surgery. And that's when I loved him more, because he wasn't one of these cut-happy doctors. And he said, as long as you've come to terms with that you've exhausted everything that you knew how to do, we can save this. I give you no guarantees, but this is the path. And I wholeheartedly, sunk myself into it since.
It was so interesting to see you try these different things to prepare. It almost reminded me of what an athlete does, like a quarterback, before a game. I mean, you were trying everything. And what do your days look like now? Do you still have to put in that work?
Oh, yeah. I'm still, in deep vocal therapy, because, like I said, that was the first time I'd sung in public in nearly 2 years. But I'm doing great. The record was easy to do. The process has been steady. Would I like it to be a light switch? Yeah. I said to the doctor, like, I've been a good boy, I want to flip the switch and be done with this. It's just not how it works. So like an athlete coming back from an ACL or whatever, it just takes time. This is the way it's going to be. But yeah, the therapy is still intensive, and yet I'm confident that it gets progressively better.
You're not the only vocalist that has had to go through this kind of thing. Did you talk to any other musicians that have been through something similar?
Everybody's different. This was a unique situation. It's not a nodule. This is something much different, where literally one of my cords was atrophying. So that was the bitch, is that, if theoretically, both of them are supposed to look like this, one of them looked like this, one of them looked like this. So the strong one was pushing the weak one around, and suddenly my inabilities were just exacerbated. Where'd that come from? I didn't understand it. But through modern medicine and an implant to bring this one back to the strength of this one, it's every day is sort of like doing curls with weights, and just getting them both to be the same size and to function together. So that's what it is.
Now, as you were filming all of this, did you ever think, I wish we weren't filming?
No. And I gave Gotham Chopra editorial final say on everything, because this was not going to be a puff piece. That would be the worst thing to do, is just create some puff piece. And we wanted the truth to be out, because we deserve to look back on the 40 years with an eye looking ahead. Regardless of what was to come with a new record and or a tour, it's still worth reflecting on 40 years and celebrating those moments. So I gave him that opportunity and let it go.
When you took the stage last week, were you nervous?
I wasn't. That was the most beautiful thing. And it wasn't until Saturday, like I had said today, that I'm not even embarrassed to share, because everybody goes through these kinds of situations in life, is that I woke up for the first time and I didn't have other voices in my head. That's a big deal, voices of doubt. And that was a big deal.
Yeah. It seems like you're coming out the other side now.
I hope so.
Yeah. going back to seeing you and the band's beginning, another thing that struck me is how you were a student. You didn't just want to sing and perform. You wanted to understand what it means to be a vocalist. You wanted to learn as much as you could.
You know, if you're not going to be great, the guy that's coming in tomorrow night is going to be better. And this isn't a career that you should take lightly. You know, there's a million other young guys that are waiting to take your spot, and there's no guarantees in this business. You got to write that song again. You have to be able to present it live. You have to win hearts in order to win their dollar, their hard-earned dollar. And then you're asking them to stay with you for 4 decades. That's a task. You better be one of the greats, or else good luck.
The music still...
That would have been the name of the film. Good luck. Goodbye.
Right. The music still just moves people. If you're at, I mean, you can be at a wedding, you can be at, anything. And when those songs come on, people are going to start singing or
You
dancing.
bet.
Do they play them when you're out at events just because they know you're there?
Craziest one that I recall in recent memory was I was at a buddy's child's wedding, and the band wanted me to sing, and I truthfully didn't want to sing. And the trumpet player starts playing the bass line of Living on a Prayer, and I'm like, please, God, not a trumpet playing. I was like, I had to get up and sing. How could you not? But the trumpet player, I was like, oh, okay.
That's so funny. Another takeaway I had from the film was your father cut hair.
He did.
Did he have any input into your hair? Because you've had such...
Not in as much where he sat down and said, I've got this idea. But, really I was a byproduct of what was the 80s. We were just that. These were my baby pictures. I love laughing at them now. I can jokingly at least say after 40 years of a career, I still have all my hair. That is a good thing. And, but I'm very much a product of the era I was born into, and unfortunately, changed with the times and grew up in public and, just writing my story as I go along.
You still have gray hair. I
Thank
feel
you.
like it's like maybe it's a family thing, just because you're...
Yeah. Genetics works in my favor here.
You were talking in the panel about how you try to roll with it as the music industry has changed so much. What's it like now? I mean, no one does music videos anymore.
Right. I had to do one yesterday. I wondered why, but we did one. I know it has changed dramatically, but you got to also remember it's a big world out there. As we were having playback sessions, for the international record companies, and the Japanese said it's still 60-40 CDs. So you have to remember international markets still play videos or sell product. It's just in America where we're now accustomed to streaming and you have to go online to find a video.
That's so interesting. So as you were filming it, were you like, I missed this. This was
No,
great.
I don't miss it. It's painful. It's miserable. I didn't enjoy it a bit.
Do you ever think about doing more acting?
I do on occasion, but much like when I was doing it and enjoying it as much as I did, my day job then comes back to get in the way. There were folks out here on this 2 weeks, they were like, hey, why don't we have a sit down? I said, in truth, I've got a big record coming out and I'm hoping to go out on the road, so I don't have time for it. And I respect the craft far too much to think I'm going to walk on a set and hit my marks and call that acting. I would prepare as I did for all of the movie roles that I did.
Right. Watching the episodes, one of the things that just made me smile is when Richie came on. And I'm just wondering, do you see a time performing with him again?
It's not, we never had a big falling out. He quit 10 years ago. It's not that we're not in contact or anything like that, but he was choosing to, as a single dad, raise his child. And, the door is always open if he wants to come up and sing a song. I mean, there's many of them that we co-wrote together. Those are a great part of both of our lives. There's no animosity here. Songwriting
is also a huge part of your identity. not everyone can do it. Why?
Everyone can do it.
You think, but well. Not everyone can do it well. How did you hone your skills with that?
For 45 years of experience. You know, it's just, everyone could sing and, you know, and thinks they're a singer when they're in the shower. It's just not that easy. And to learn your craft takes time, and you have to be a student. You have to listen to other stuff. You have to be open to things that you didn't know that you were open to. And you have to tell your truth. I can craft you a Moon, June, and Spoon rhyme scheme, but is that going to stand the test of time? You know, you have to tell your truth in a way that people are going to relate.
For this next album, did any of what you went through come through in the music?
You know what came through in this record is joy. You know, on my last album, our last album was released in the black hole of COVID. And it was called 2020, and it was a very topical record. And it addressed COVID and gun control and soldiers with PTSD and you know, all of the things that are going on in that crazy time that we all lived in. And I couldn't promote it, and I couldn't tour it, and artistically it was a great time for me as a songwriter, you know, to tell these stories. My goal with this record was to capture joy again, which, you know, for these last few years have been difficult, whether it's coming out of that dark cloud of COVID as the world experienced, or my own personal journey. With this record, I think we captured joy.
And do you still feel that joy with recording?
Today, I really, truly do again. I can honestly look at you and say there's no other voices in my head. And there's joy in the writing and in the recording, and even in what we did, the album cover and making this video, and no one was complaining. We were happy to have been there. It was really just a moment of joy.
It was amusing to see you in those rehearsals at the Meadowlands where you were saying, I was such a showman.
Yeah.
And you could still do it, but it made you a little tired.
That was cute to be up on the big stage for the first time in X years prior to those rehearsals. And compounded by the fact that as I was singing, I was like, you know, it's like doing weightlifting, you know, and you're going, wait a minute, it's not quite working right. Why isn't it working right? And I got my legs under me by the time we went on the road. I was able to dance and pout and, you know, do all the things that I know how to do on a stage. What was lacking was the rest of it, you know, and that's what was the turning point.
It also really, I just thought it was so wonderful how you said your parents, they let you do this. They let you go out and play in these bars, and because they knew where you were and they knew that you were working hard.
The drinking age was 18, which is integral to my story, because at 16, when you could finally sneak into a bar, turning 17, you know, a responsible parent might frown upon that. But in truth, at that point, they were like, well, you're really pursuing this, and you really care enough about it, and you're working towards something. So, okay, we knew where you were. Because I'd be going to high school a mess, you know, just groggy, because, you know, I played every Sunday night, or Tuesday night was my night. So, you know, you're 16, 17, 18, playing in bars. I immediately realized that this was my calling, and I had no desire for higher education, because my experience was playing at frat houses. So I said, this is college. But
right.
Then, fortunately for me, by the time I was 21, I had a record deal.
Mm-hmm. Now, when you see or hear about these up-and-coming musicians, who, you can grab it.
Can I?
Yeah.
Sorry, just
No
want
worries.
to grab a sip.
No, I will too. When you see these up-and-coming musicians and they get discovered, say, on TikTok or whatever, is it ever frustrating because you put in the time? You were in those clubs.
No, it's not frustrating to me at all. You know, there are many avenues to get the light to maybe shine on you. To keep it on you is the task. That is the chore. Celebrity comes and goes. There's a long list of casualties on the side of the road, you know, in the 40 years of my span of my career. So I'm not frustrated by those things. I don't really have to pay attention to them either. On the other hand, it's a really good opportunity. Oh God, now I can't think of the guy's name, but that sang that's the Richmond song that went right to #1. I wish I could remember it, because he came out of nowhere, and he writes a song, and it's a #1 single. That's a good time for the spotlight to shine on him. I'm sure he's written other great songs. So now that works. You know, not everybody's a young influencer, you know, with that kind of thing. So there is opportunities in this day and age. It's just a different era.
It's also a singles market now.
Yeah.
When you're recording an album, were you like, why don't we just put out some singles?
No, I see. I'm the opposite. I'm like, I can only put out an album. That's all I know how to do. I have to tell the complete story. It has to be the beginning, a middle, and an end, because that's who and what we are. No, I'm not interested in the other thing.
A lot of artists are selling their catalogs.
Mm-hmm.
Thoughts on that?
For some, it makes sense because they need to. For some, it makes sense because they want to. And for others who don't need or want, I just find it to be, you know, my baby. And I have no desire at this juncture in my life to ever even consider it. And I think that, you know, streaming is a good thing for me because it just keeps getting bigger and bigger and bigger.
Mm-hmm. Do you foresee it all? Do you almost wish, okay, I wish now was the 40th?
It is the 40th.
Well, do you wish that everything that was filmed, it could be happening now?
No, you know what I wish that we had is episode 5. Because
Yeah.
there's been so much since we shut it down. You know, to be able to say that to you, like I woke up on Saturday without other voices in my head, that's the first time in 10 years that I can say that. That's a big deal for me. It's a big deal. You know?
And did you really doubt your ability? Or
Yes. Every note of every song was torture. Yes.
was it hard to listen to and see old tape?
I'm a badass motherfucker in the beginning. And up until about, 7, 8 years ago, unequivocally, egotistically, I was pretty damn good. And I will be that good again. But how could you'd look on a scope and a doctor go, I don't know. These are professional ENTs going, I don't know. What do you mean you don't know? And so I had to find the right guy that says, I know. And I know how to fix it.
Do you remember the first inkling of something's not quite right?
Yeah, around 2014, we had done This House Is Not For Sale. No, I'm sorry. In 2014 was the first time that I had an inkling that something wasn't right. And we had finished the What About Now tour, and that was a big tour. It was 100 shows and very successful. In 14, I really wasn't doing much. So when I started in 15, there was a lot of change going on in the band and in my personal business life. And it started to not work right. And I thought it was all psychological. And I thought it's because I hadn't used it. It was neither. So when you go to a doctor and he goes, I don't know, oftentimes people have, issues and the doctor goes, I don't know, or the doctor is wrong. And everybody's had these surgeries in their life where doctors aren't God, they're just doctors. You had to find the right doctor to tell the right anecdote to the story.
Right. Well, thank God you found it.
Yeah.
You're one of New Jersey's favorite sons. They love you. They're so proud. You moved to Florida.
Part-time. My license is New Jersey.
I was going to say.
I still vote in New Jersey.
Oh,
my license is New Jersey.
It's interesting how coming up when you did, the Asbury Park music scene was humming. Like that was...
Yeah, that's all credit to Bruce and to Southside. From before me, in the early 70s when those guys were cutting their teeth, to the latter 70s when I first came onto that scene, and into the early 80s, there was an original music scene there. And it was supported by each other, by the tribe, and that's when I realized playing other people's music was short-term success, if you will, because you play the bigger bar. But the only way to have a tomorrow is to start writing your own stuff. So I stopped playing other people's music when I was 18 years old. I knew then to quit my own band and learn how to write.
Right. Were you alluded in the panel to how episodes 3 and 4 get dark or darker. Is that because of we see what you were going through at the time?
Yeah. Yeah, the rising, if you will, coming out of the ashes, and the surgery, and what leads us to unfinished business and no resolution at the very end of the 4th episode. I'm being honest here. There's no reason to make a puff piece. Work in progress, but it's all trending in the right direction, and the album's great, and the film turned out the way it needed to.
Now, was it your idea to do a film, or were you approached?
No, I did this. Yeah, I found Gotham, and we were archiving everything that I'd had, and which was a lot, and I had no idea what a hoarder I am. And subsequently, everybody else chimed in with everything that they had. And it was going to be our 40th anniversary. And not knowing the future, it was an opportunity to mark a milestone.
Is it like looking back at a yearbook when you look at these old tapes and stuff? Is it like, oh, I remember what was going on?
Sure. In great detail. I can still recall much of it, most of it, all of it. But there were some surprises, too, some great surprises. I think we found 30-plus songs that were never released that are a great part of this archiving, that we had no idea. There's a treasure trove of eras, music that's able to be streamed now.
Oh, that's incredible. That's wonderful.
Yeah.
It's a good lesson for people. They need to go through their stuff.
Yeah. Finished songs.
Right. Who are you listening to right now?
More established artists than not, but Inhaler is a young rock band that I really think highly of. Maneskin is a good rock band with a celebrity, a star lead singer. In Damiano David, I think he's fabulous. But when I, in these last 10 years, discovered Jason Isbell and know that songwriters are still safe. There's still great storytellers out there. Noah Kahn is a young, great singer-songwriter that I think that we're very highly of. So there's the future of music is still secured.
Gotham has the sports background. You are a sports fan, so it makes sense that you were drawn to him.
Yeah. He had not done music before, but I also understand what team is. And I have a slogan around here that we call the power of we. I'm only as strong as we. And everybody has to buy into the concepts in order for them to really go forward. And I loved what he had done with Brady. And I'm such an admirer of Tommy's work ethic. And then I realized his trust in Gotham. So he was my first and only choice.
Patriots aren't playing this weekend. Who are you rooting for?
I'm indifferent. I like them both for different reasons. I mean, I'm a Patriot through and through, but I really still think that Mahomes is great, and he and Kelsey and Andy Reid, God bless them all. And how can you not root for Brock Purdy and Mr. Irrelevant and McCaffrey and his work ethic, and the York family owning that team is great. And so I'm indifferent. I'll just be eating chicken wings and enjoying it from my couch.
Where would you like to see Bill Belichick next?
Of course, he's the greatest that there ever was. I'd like to see him break Don Shula's record just because I'm egotistical enough that I want my friend to have that record. But I don't think anybody can ever deny that he's one of the greats of all time, period. And should he choose to be a head coach somewhere, I'll follow it. I'll be a friendly fan of it. I think he'd be a natural fit back at the Giants, for example. I'd love to see him consider something, without trying to get somebody fired, mind you. Something that, he gets the culture. That'd be a good choice.
Nice. All right. Thank you.
Thank you.